Now, you dropped a couple of names there that have been linked to Manchester United. Perhaps one that we have to talk about, considering it was against Aston Villa today. And a bit of a sideshow piece to this match is Jack Grealish. Potentially his audition to Manchester United today. But looking back at the last 90 minutes, how would you rate that audition, Stephen?
To be honest, I don't think the game matters tonight. I think they know the quality of Jack Grealish. I think they understand that if he was to join a club like Manchester United, then being around better players, playing higher up the pitch, not having to do sort of 3 or 4 jobs on the football pitch that he feels that he has to do to sort of drag the team back up to where they need to be. I think he'll be a far superior player in a much better team. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows that. I think he understands that, the qualities that Grealish possesses. So tonight's game will have no bearing on whether Manchester United decide to sign him or not. I think it adds to the quality of Manchester United's squad. Would he play every week? That's what Jack has to sort of work out in his head, was if he was to go to Manchester United, is he happy to be a bit part player?
So you're saying he could potentially be a squad player for Manchester United, but the other question is, will Man United pay that much? At the minute, the figure is about reportedly 80 million just for a squad player, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the going rate at the moment, isn't it, for players in and around? But for £80 million, I want someone who's going to start week in, week out. And that's, when you think about his global appeal as well for Manchester United, is he going to sell his shirts week in, week out to repay a lot of that money that he's going to cost? I'm not so sure he will, but who else will buy him for £80 million with the pandemic that we're coming out of, or we've been in at the moment? And can clubs afford to sort of shell out £80 million? I don't think they can. I think that figure would have to come down considerably, and I think it will as well.
What do you think, Shay? How is he suited for Manchester United? Should he go?
Yeah. Well, as Stephen said, Michelle, tonight wasn't a good game for Jack. He was dropping too deep. He was, out wide, and he wasn't causing Man United any problems. I think he was getting frustrated. We sort of said that before the game, and that's sort of been a little bit of a story for the last probably 3 or 4 months at Aston Villa. He's getting deeper, trying to get involved in the game, and trying to, impose himself on the game. But he's coming too deep. He can't hurt the opposition. So Man United see him on the halfway line, see him out in the wing. It's, they're thinking he's not going to cause us any problems there. He's not going to assist. He's not going to score goals from there. But I've played with Jack Grealish. I know how good a player. I've seen him every single day in training. I've played in the same pitch with him. I know the qualities he has. He's a fantastic player. And the big other thing as well, if Villa do go down, they're 4 points from safety now tonight after tonight's game, then they'll have to sell him. I think for the financial side of things as well, they'll have to get as much money for them as they can. I think Stephen's probably right. 80 million is probably a bit steep now with what's happened with the COVID-19. But I think, Jack will have to leave the football club, be it Man United or a different club. I think they sort of balance the books at Aston Villa as well. I think they'll have to sell him. And for Jack's career as well, I think he's proven to everyone that he should be playing the Premier League. And is he good enough for Man United? For me, he is, because I've seen him, close hand. I've seen him every day, how good a player he is. And he would enhance the Man United squad for sure.
What does he add to Manchester United, should he go, that they don't already have, Shay?
Well, they have got a lot of quality. That's the thing. And as I say, Pogba coming back tonight for me was a special player. But, I said before the game, the team that Jack's in at the minute is a team that's struggling. And if he moved to Man United, for example, that he's full of fantastic players. We talk again about, Bruno Fernandes. What a signing he's been. Pogba looks getting back to his best. All these different players. Greenwood, all the players, Martial, Rashford. There's so many brilliant players around him. And if he played for Man United, you wouldn't see Jack dropping off into, back into the halfway line or out wide. He would be higher up the pitch and be in a position where he can hurt opposition players more than where he is at Villa. He has to drop to try and get on the ball because the players around him, no disrespect to the Villa players, are not as good as the Man United players, and that's the basic facts of it all.
What are your personal thoughts then? Do you see him going to Manchester United?
I don't know. I mean, there's so much press mediation here, media about Jack joining. They say there's no smoke without fire. I think there must be something in the pipeline that he could be joining Manchester United. The fee, I have no clue where it's going to be, but I do think he's good enough to play at a big club like Manchester United for sure, and he wouldn't look out of place in that team. He
could be adding a little bit more to this Man United side, but where would you see him fit in? Would you see him as a number 10, or where do you put him?
Well, that's a good question. We talk about Fernandes, the impact he's had, and he's You couldn't pick 11 players now for Man United with Fernandes not being in the team. That's how good he has been. Where would Jack play? Could maybe play off the left or off the right, but I think Jack's strongest position is a number 10. I think that's where even Stephen mentioned before, Jurgen Klopp has said that this last couple of weeks about Jack's qualities. That's where he sees him his best position. But Fernandes is in that position as well, and I say Pogba can also play that position. They've got a number of players who can play, but if they're back in the Champions League, Michelle, for example, then there's so many games and so much, players that'll be needed. The squad will be needed for so many games and at the top level as well. So, Fernandes is a young enough player, but I don't think he can play every single game. So maybe always looking at the sort of rotating the squad a little bit and getting Jack into the team. We're talking. We don't know for definite if it's going to happen, but my understanding is I think it might happen because there's so much talk about it. So I think he would fit into the team. Where the position now, I can't tell you that where he's going to be because he's got so many options now. Solskjaer going forward.
What do you think, Stephen? Do you think he will be going to Manchester United?
I'm not so sure because there was an interesting comment from his agent this week that said where Jack will be playing next year, it could be abroad. It could be, and it will be with Champions League. He wants to see him playing Champions League football. So whether there's been an offer from abroad and there's been interest from elsewhere as well, or whether it's his agent sort of playing the game to make sure that he keeps clubs interested, alert, that Jack is in high demand. But if he was to go to Manchester United, I do feel that he would be a squad player. I think Shay's right if you qualify for the Champions League and you've got so many games, then Jack will probably play the game before the Champions League and you allow Bruno Fernandes a rest to be ready for the Champions League because of that extra quality. But you don't know with injuries as well. He could force his way into the team. Fernandes, as well as he's playing at the moment, could have a dip in form and that allows Jack the opportunity to step in. But it's very difficult to say at the moment because if Villa do stay up, do they need to sell? How hard do they make for Jack to leave? Because he's obviously very difficult to replace. But I think it'll come down to either, if Villa do stay up, it comes down to Jack going to ask the club if he can leave, which will be very difficult for him. But if Villa obviously go down, then it's Villa trying to get as much money as they can. But like Shay said earlier on, they will have to sell him.
Do you think it's inevitable, like you said, if Villa does stay up, do you think he will still go?
Oh, if Villa go down, he leaves 100% because he's shown that he's more than capable of playing in the Premier League. If you've got big clubs knocking on the door and they're saying that they want you to sign for them, we all know that the pull of the EPL now, it's huge. It's every player's dream to play in the Premier League, the top league. And Jack will be no different, and he'll feel that he's done more than enough and given enough more than enough service to Aston Villa as well. That it's the right time for him to leave if Aston Villa do go down. And Villa fans won't be happy with me saying that, but it's the truth of the matter.
But what if they do stay up, Stephen? If you were Jack Grealish, would you go?
Again, very difficult. I think if you were, you'd have to sit down with the manager, you'd have to sit down with the board and see what type of players they're looking to sign, if they are going to reinforce the squad, because he won't want to be playing football like they're playing this year. He won't want to be fighting relegation week in, week out and trying to and just surviving in games at times. He'll want an attacking style of football, something that plays to his strengths. I mean, ideally, he wants a team built round him, but you look at the recruitment last season and the money that was outlined to bring players in. The recruitment wasn't great. I don't think it was Dean Smith's fault. I think it was behind the scenes. So the manager needs some control in that, and that's something that Jack will also be aware of.
What do you think, Shay? Jack Grealish, if they do stay up, if Villa does stay up, should he stay or should he go and maybe seek for greener pastures in one way to put it?
Well, if they do stay up, Michelle, I think they've got a better chance of hanging on to him. That's 100%. He's an Aston Villa fan. He lives in the city. His family, his friends, they're all Aston Villa fans. You know, he's the captain of the football club. There's many reasons why he shouldn't leave the football club. But as Stephen says, you know, recruitment last summer and, you know, ambitions as Jack as a player. You know, he wants to get an England squad. He wants to play for his country. You know, he won't do that if he's in a relegation fight. But if he joins a club like Manchester United or even Liverpool or Arsenal or one of the bigger clubs in the Premier League, then, you know, England manager will be looking at him more. And as we said before, playing with better players, you even look better. You'll create more assists. You'll get more goals and better teams. So Jack will look at the bigger picture. You know, it's a short career. He'll think that he has to probably move on. And Stephen says, well, we both play for Aston Villa. Any Aston Villa fans will be saying, well, you could at least, you know, sort of take our side of the fence and say, well, why can't they stay at Aston Villa? You know, they do have a lot of finances behind them, got wealthy owners now, Aston Villa as well, but it could take 2 or 3 years to build the squad back up to a team that can be back up challenging in the top 6 or 7 again. And Jack might not want to wait that long.